Still here at the amphitheater, where we are expecting the program to start shortly, that is honoring the lives and legacies of apartheid heroes that went into exile, and we're seeing a number of those mortal remains being brought back home here at Freedom Park in a ceremony that will be officiated by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, what the viewers may not know, that a lot of work has gone into securing these mortal remains and ensuring they return back to South Africa. 12 years in the making, we're told by the ANC's Archive Committee, that it took to get some of these bodies back to South Africa. To elaborate further on this, I am joined by Mr. Obed Bapela, ANC NEC member and part of that Archives Committee that sat for at least over a decade to ensure that these bodies return home. A lot of South Africans have not learned that some of these soldiers, when they die outside of their countries, they are buried in those countries and cannot leave. How were you able to negotiate that process and getting these bodies or these mortal remains back to South Africa? Back to South Africa.
Thanks very much for having me and to the viewers at home. Indeed, it has been hard work, meetings, negotiations, ups and downs, because there's an international law that a soldier, when he dies, wherever they die, they are buried there. But in South Africa, the families have been asking us, when exiles returned live, that their remains of those who died should also join and come back. It was not an easy thing. Some families then took their own initiatives, brought some, and then others were able to succeed in certain countries and not in others. We brought them in drips and drabs. Now, this is a magnificent event where we are able to bring 42. 40 of them are ANC members, and then 2 are from the PAC as part of the liberation movements that took arms against apartheid to liberate their country and give us the freedom that we're enjoying today. And amongst the 40, there's one nurse who volunteered at the time when they were saying 21 Albertina Sisulu brigade must go and help those newly independent countries. When O.R. Tambo was already in exile, said they must come. 20 responded. Albertina was then asked to stay and be in the front of the struggle in South Africa. And then one of the 40, amongst the 40 ANC members, is this nurse who took that voluntarism. Others are still lying in other countries, Uganda, Tanzania. As we go to those countries to fetch more, because there's 1,000 more people to be brought back home, we will then be bringing them amongst some of the soldiers, the Lithuli detachment, which will know a lot about it. It was the first army that Chris Hani and them joined to fight the Ian Smith in Zimbabwe, to get Zimbabwe free, so that it's easier for Umkhonto Wesizwe to enter the country and then give a heavy blow to the apartheid machinery.
Besides that international law, is it correct that Zambia wanted to hold on to these remains that were in Lusaka?
Well, it's not only Zambia, even Angola did mention that. However, they've eased off to say, if you take them now, Botswana included, please reseal the grave and leave a memory that we as Botswanas, we did give homage to you. We hosted these remains of your loved ones, your soldiers, and then at least put a tombstone to say, here were the remains of so-and-so that were lying here after being buried by the people of X country, Botswana, Angola, or Zambia. Now they've since repatriated to South Africa on this date, resting now in their home country. So that memorialization had to be an agreed. It was not in our plan. Yeah. If you look at the cabinet policy that was adopted in 2021, because at the time of negotiations, there was no policy. So we were up and down, and then we didn't know what else, but we were able to put the policy together. 2021, the cabinet adopted, but the memorialization is not in that policy. We have to now go and update the policy in cabinet so that at the point of spending, there are no issues of the Auditor General arising.
That speaks to the richness of the legacy of liberation heroes, because other countries in the continent as well see historical value in these graves as well, and trying to hold on to these graves.
Definitely they are historic because they want to pride themselves that they did host us, they did support us They gave us army bases. They gave us refugee status when we were running away. So as a result of that, they were right by wanting to hold, but now they've since agreed. A lot of them will be expatriated across the continent, in Europe, in Asia, and also in Latin America, such as Cuba, where we have Alex Laguma, who is still resting in that place. So all of them should then be coming over a period of time, because we can't bring them once in a
Yes,
time.
and I see the Minister of Defence is slowly approaching as well. But there is an issue there of some of these mortal remains, whether you can successfully obtain all of them and bring them back to South Africa. We know that that's going to be a challenge. Painting a realistic picture to South Africans, is this where it ends with the organized graves of Zambia and Zimbabwe, or can we expect more mortal remains?
We are expecting to go to Uganda and Tanzania. We still go back to Botswana again. We still have to go to Swaziland and Mozambique, the Madola raid, if you all remember it. We still have to go to Angola. Angola is going to be the most difficult. There are marked graves that is going to be easy, and had they been identified and mapped, the missing persons task team has done that work. However, there are those that were just buried in a harrow as bullets were flying, and they are unmarked. We know who they are in terms of the scroll. However, we don't know who's buried in which grave. So, unfortunately, that one is going to be difficult, and families will have to understand that we don't want to give them wrong remains. They will then have to bring them all and bury them in one place with that monumental hall that says, here lies the remains of the following people. Families can at least get solace that they are here, but they may not be able to point which of the graves, because they were not marked. It's very difficult to. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Obed Bapela of the ANC's Archives Committee, painting a clear picture as to where we are now with retrieving those mortal remains and bringing them back to South Africa, as well as the challenges that exist with other frontline states, that we may have some mortal remains remaining there that still need to return home to our constitutional democracy after that long fight for liberation. We're hearing there from Mr. Obed Bapela that this is not something that started just yesterday, that the Archives Committee has been working on this for at least over a decade to ensure that this project is successful. We expect the program to be starting in the next couple of hours. As you can see behind me, as I quickly step out of frame, that the amphitheater is starting to fill up with guests, as well as some military veterans as they prepare to celebrate that life. Still a few numbers that are inside this amphitheater, but I'm sure once the event starts that we will have quite a number of guests filling up this venue to celebrate these lives and legacies during Heritage Month. But for now, we take a quick